Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the second half of Industries Live for this week. Just had a fantastic 30 minutes with Fractal, thoroughly engaging discussion about hyper-personalization. My name is Michael Schmidt, as I mentioned before, joining you live from Seattle, Washington. The sun is out and it is springtime in Seattle. From wherever you are in the world, let us know in the chat on whatever platform we're watching the chat. Let us know where you're watching from and let me know what the weather's like. It's going to be hard to beat Seattle weather today, I can tell you. My name is Michael Schmidt. As I said before, I look after the Industry and Partner Solutions Center of Excellence here at AWS. It's such a fun part of the business. I get to see what partners and customers are doing on the platform in line of business and with industry specialist solutions, how they're bringing those solutions to market, whether it be in media entertainment, financial services, healthcare and life sciences, oil and gas, you name it. It is, for me, I have the most exciting job in the world. I get to see all sorts of interesting things. But today we're talking about financial services, and specifically we're going to talk about hyper-personalization. I mentioned before in the last half hour, I was at the London Summit last week, and it was a very, very hot topic. I had lots of customers and partners wanting to talk about hyper-personalization, what that means for their business, what that means for how they engage with their end customers. It's a fascinating space, and I'm really looking forward to digging in our second half with another partner who we're going to announce in just a moment. But I want to welcome my co-host, Addy. How are you today?
I'm well, Michael. We're in New York, and it's slightly gloomier here, but it's been a welcome rainfall to just kind of balance the temperature. So I can't complain. And I'm excited about this episode because my team manages financial services partner solutions. We want to make it really easy for our customers to know that our partners, combined with the AWS services, can really solve for their line of business needs. And so diving into a topic like hyper-personalization is just so fascinating. In the previous session, we kind of conveyed how the right product can be advertised to the right customer at the right time. And that customer 360 perspective is so important. But something that's so systemic is the speed and recency that's needed when you look at hyper-personalization. If I just went and did a whole bunch of shopping on a certain set of products, I don't need to see them again. On the other side, when a right instrument comes to me at the right time and it hits me in the right note, that's something I'm going to latch on to and continue engaging with a company or a provider that brings that to me. And right at the heart of that is data. So when you really have to churn through all of these personalization scenarios, you often need to manage, say, user engagement, customer retention, but you also have to manage scenarios like suppression, which is, hey, the customer already has seen this before or has engaged with it. You have to navigate those complex real-time streams to know whether it's the right time for this customer to go for a certain product or not. And so that recency in the data, that control of what's happening in the most recent view of the world is so important. And that kind of gets me really excited to welcome our next partner onto the discussion, which is FICO.
Good morning, Jaron. Welcome. So excited to have FICO join us this morning. Jaron, welcome to the show. I guess I'm really interested. Why don't you perhaps introduce yourself and tell us about FICO?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Addy. I'm super excited to be here. I am joining you. So I live in Raleigh, North Carolina, but we're actually at our user conference, FICO World 2025. So we are in beautiful Miami. So probably not as nice as it is for you, Michael. It's a little steamy and hot here, but it's always fun to be here. And AWS is actually one of our core sponsors here. So it's a really exciting week. But yeah, so I'll tell you a little bit about FICO and a little bit about me, and we can dive in. So I'm really excited to talk about hyper-personalization. It's something that's top of mind for everyone and something that I absolutely love talking about. So if you're not familiar with FICO, I always think, depending on where you are in the world, you're probably familiar with the FICO score or some sort of FICO solution, especially in financial services. But when you look at FICO, we're really, I would say, a business that's broken down into two main segments. We have our scores business that's all about credit scoring, making credit available. And then we also have our software business, and that's the side of the house that I come from. So we were founded back in 1956, really with the idea of pioneering the use of predictive analytics and data science to improve operational decisions. So we really live in what I like to call the world of outcomes, driving meaningful outcomes for our clients that enable them to drive outcomes for their clients as well. We entered the software space in the 1970s. So we've been doing this a very long time. For years, we went to market in what we called this application type approach, where we had a bunch of siloed solutions that were really good at doing one thing and one thing well. So we had different parts of the customer life cycle. We had an application for originations and fraud and so on and so forth. About 11 years ago now, we saw a shift in the market. We saw, digital transformation, the move to cloud, big data, AI. We saw this need for hyper-personalization. The way that clients wanted to interact with their clients was changing. And it made us take a step back and look at our go-to-market strategy. And we pivoted away from this point solution approach into a platform-first organization. So when you hear FICO today on the software side, what we're talking about is FICO Platform. It is a leading applied intelligence platform that's all about using data, using analytics to operationalize and make better decisions at scale. Fast forward to today, we have over 10,000 clients across 80 countries. We have 96 of the top 100 financial institutions are in the US are FICO clients. We're growing rapidly year over year. So it's a really, really exciting time for FICO, both on the score side and the software. For me personally, as I mentioned, I live in Raleigh, North Carolina. I run our US platform sales business. So it's something that keeps me busy, but it's very fun. And, it's a pleasure to run it because I love this topic because every conversation I have today centers around how do we streamline and get better at how we interact with our clients? Like hyper-personalization is at the core of every conversation we have.
Absolutely. Well, it's not lost on me that you're in Miami. Miami, of course, was the scene of the Formula One Grand Prix this weekend, which was, of course, won by Oscar Piastri. So very, very Aussie. Very, very excited that you're down there. Hope you managed to catch a bit of at least the Formula One rub off and all of the excitement that goes along with Formula One in a city. I'm sure it was extremely fun.
Yes, it was. It was a little chaotic, but it was a blast. Formula One takes over, so all of Miami was F1.
I can imagine. So tell us, back to our regular scheduled program. I couldn't resist throwing that in. Tell me, Jaron, tell us a little bit about why FICO. Like, what do you see yourselves as in terms of your key differentiators in the space? And, what is it that your customers are really loving from FICO above everyone else?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start with, kind of why I feel it's so important. So when I talk to clients, like, why does hyper-personalization matter? Like, what's important to them? And I always say, when we look at big banks versus the fintechs, like I feel like when the fintechs came in, digital only banks, like they started transforming how we thought about personalization. Like they are more agile, they're more advanced, they're nimble. They really start to position and gear towards the younger generation. Like if you look at the stats, the amount of people that switch banks from a younger generation versus an older generation, it's staggering the difference. Like the younger generation will change at will. So a lot of the conversations I have center around with like, look, we have all this data. We have old analytics, we're on this personalization maturity curve going from batch and blast to segmentation of many, trying to get to the segmentation of one. But at the heart of it, what I think about is, if you go back 15 years, like when a consumer or a customer would walk into a bank, like they would go into the branch, their interaction was through the branch. So they'd walk into a brick and mortar, they would have that, like what I always refer to as the emotional tug. Like they'd walk in, their teller knows them by name, their banker knows them by name. For some reason, going to the bank was like going to the nail salon or the hairdresser. Like they knew their entire life story, they knew their family, what's important to them. But it was this emotional tug that they felt of my bank knows me, my bank understands me, they can anticipate my needs because they have this picture of who Jaron is as an individual. Fast forward to today, when we moved into the digital age, that went away. Like that kind of emotional tug went away. So the conversations I have with my clients now are all about like, guys, how do we get that emotional tug back? Like it's so different how we interact with our clients. I heard the CEO of a credit union say recently, he said, I think the way that we interact with our clients is going to change more in the next 3 to 5 years than it has in the last 35 years. I was like, that is just so cool to be a part of. That's what's really exciting about this time. But there's so many challenges that are facing banks. So it's ripe with opportunity. The juice is worth a squeeze if we can do this successfully. But when you look at the data, the reality is like banks are failing and falling really short when it comes to personalization. I saw something recently. It was they ranked 5 different industries for how they were doing from a personalization standpoint. Banking ranked 4th, only ahead of manufacturing. So I don't know if that's really the bar set in financial services, but like that's what we're working with. So there's a lot of opportunity, but when we can do that successfully, I mean, it changes the world.
Yeah, I think there's something that also really accelerated this change, which is institutions would have their branches and they would have that presence, and that handshake would always be there. And so you knew when you would go into a branch what you'd need to get done. But with COVID, that just completely accelerated to a digitally native world. And so something we saw happen really quickly on the AWS side was how customers were requiring to be having those omni-channel, fully digitized experiences ready for customers in a much faster journey than they would have expected. And it also transformed the contact center, which is you can still engage with a bank and interact with a human being, but that contact center really needs to know and understand you as soon as you've dialed in. And something we noticed at the time was the institutions that had got that contact center with the personalization insight ready, and those that could keep that engagement early on, those were the ones that continued to gain market share and grow their footprint, specifically in retail banking and digitally native banking, where the teams that were there at the right time with the right insights were really differentiating. And so data is going to be that true personalization tool. If you don't have it and you're not using it, you're going to fall behind. And so institutions have to really know how to make most of those many sources of data, rely on the right ones, such as FICO, and then make sure that it all comes together to the right team members at the right time. And I see it as a fascinating survey by McKinsey as well that called out over 35% of engagement of new customer acquisition as well as user retention comes down to having those personalized experiences. So we expect that when we go to the Amazon app and we kind of purchase a product, we do it through our email, and then we expect those personalized emails coming in. That expectation is there from the bank as well, and from the insurance provider and that asset manager. So FICO is right at the heart of that, and bringing that data at the right time is essential.
Yeah, I love that point, and it is. It's what consumer demands. So we saw it in COVID. It was hyper speed into this thrust into the digital world, which was exciting because there was so much going on. We were trying to help people get there and get nimble. And what we saw, the biggest thing that I feel like we saw at FICO during COVID with our clients was that they were not agile and nimble in the way they needed to be to drive meaningful interactions. And I love what you said. I think it was before I jumped on the last session, Addy. You were talking about the relevance. Like, it's all about the right treatment at the right time. Like, if we see that, I go into Babies R Us 4 times in the last 3 weeks, like, I'm probably having a child. Like, how can we make a offer that is something, it's a silly example, but like, that's what we're trying to drive towards, like relevant, timely, personalized treatments that make me feel like my bank knows me for who I am. And you're right, it all starts with data. And that's what the biggest challenge that we see with our clients is. Look, there's data everywhere. We have exabytes of data at our fingertips. We have first-party data. We have transactional data. We have all of this data that we have on a consumer. It's strewn across the enterprise. It's in disparate systems all over the place. We can't access it at the right time. There's external data that we want to bring in. There's all of these different sources, but we can't centralize that data successfully in order to make use of it. I always think of this in the concept of what we call data on demand. It's not about getting all the data. It's about getting the right data at the right time to make use of it in a way that is relevant and matters. And that's really what FICO, like, that's what we focus on in the platform is, look, everybody's on a data journey. That's fine if you want to try to co-locate your data, bring it into a beautiful lake, get it all in one place where it's easy to use. Like, that's great, but that's a heck of a long journey. And in order, like, there's so much opportunity to get value out of that data now. And that's what we focus on. Wherever the data is, we'll go out and grab it, bring it in. I always like to think of the platform as tentacles of an octopus. We're data agnostic, whatever, structure it's in, if it's formatted, like, what doesn't matter. Like, we will go out, we will grab the data, bring it in, synthesize and make it use and make it ready for use so we can actually derive insights off of that data that allow us to make relevant actions that are meaningful in ways that matter for clients. So that's the hardest part that we see right now is that there's data out there. It all starts with data, but it's not about getting all the data. It's about getting the right data that we can actually make use out of it.
Fantastic. I'm interested in just talking about, as you talk about data, I'm interested in what you're seeing, two sides of this question, particularly between different geos versus what you're seeing in Europe versus what you're seeing in APAC and what you're seeing in North America, both in terms of availability of data, of course, a highly regulated industry, financial services, so there's a lot of regulatory things to navigate, but also in terms of, like, what are you seeing in terms of the differences in what your customers, your end customers are asking for in terms of the outcomes that they're looking for from hyper-personalization?
Yeah. That's a great question. I love that. And that's the thing, no matter, so wherever we're talking about, and I've had the pleasure of working with banks in the US now, but before I took over the US business, I was working internationally. So I spent a lot of time in EMEA and South Africa and across the UK and working with banks there. And what I realized is everybody's driving towards the same goal. We're all at just different journeys. We're at different points in the journey, different steps. And there's obviously different regulations when you look at GDPR, and there's some of that in the US here as well. But one of the things that fascinates me when we talk about different areas is, and it's kind of bleeding in, and it's the concept of open banking and open finance, of like being able to start sharing and utilizing different data. And if you look at a place like APJ, for example, so we have a lot of clients in Australia that have really pioneered the use of transactional data. So being able to see, how can we understand Michael for who he is based on his transaction history in the last 30, 60, 90 days? We see that he, we can start to understand and build a contextual profile off who you are as an individual based on your behavior and your spending patterns. What is your, time on books? What is your average balance? If you say it's all about validation. So if you're applying for a loan, for example, and it's, my income is $1,000 hypothetically a month, we should be able to go in and see on the first of the month that there is a check coming in for $900, whatever the 1,000 is without taxes. But it's all about validating and being able to see that. And because we have access to that information when they make it available, so things like transactional data, we can get a really cool holistic picture of who Michael is as an individual and be able to interact with you in ways that are super relevant based on the data that we have. So I always view it as the goal of personalization is to understand the person behind the data. And that's what the platform and FICO allows you to do. It allows you to cut through the noise, listen to the right signals, and see who you are as an individual behind all of the data that we have.
Awesome.
It's a fascinating space, and I think you have to be able to do this at scale, because the speed with which FICO is able to do this. I think last report I read was a 7.5 million transactions, through the entire volume you produce through a day, or if I'm not mistaken, it's within minutes. But it's the ability to gain that entire perspective in a ready insight, in a ready model, and then having that available to customers based on the way they'd like to consume it. So having all those integrations on AWS is right at the heart of FICO's strategy. Jaron, I think something you've called out is also the way in which we can help our customers make these decisions together. I'm really keen to know, are you kind of building this as easy to access prototypes? We've done some good work with our consulting partners with FICO and some like Infosys who've kind of drawn dedicated go-to-markets. How do you engage customers and show them this value today?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have kind of, I would say, two paths of how we go to market with the platform. So we have a direct business where we work very closely with a lot of the big banks across the globe, and that's really our bread and butter sweet spot. It has been for a while, where I would say we're very fortunate in the US because of the FICO score, because we've had a rich history in software. We have a great brand and a very trusted brand. And we're able to interact with clients in meaningful ways in the financial industry space. They think of us when they think of decisioning, when they think of operationalizing decisions, they think of FICO. So we have great relationships that we go out. We also are really putting a lot of emphasis now into our partner strategy with GSIs, with Infosys, with AWS, to start being able to break beyond and really get our platform out to the masses to enable everybody to start operationalizing decisions at scale. So we want to be able to take it for a while. But what I love, I think what I heard you say and what I love too is being able to do this at scale. So being able to work with all sizes of institutions. So being able to have the small banks that are just sitting in the Appalachian that want to be able to interact with their clients better, all the way up to the top 5 banks in the world. So that's one of the things that we lean very heavily on AWS for, is that ability to have the infrastructure in place to be able to scale up and scale down and meet our customers where they are, but also enable them to drive meaningful growth in the ways that matter. And that's one of the big things, as well as, look, we want to meet you where you are today, but with the right tools, personalization is going to drive growth. So we want to meet you where you are today, but enable you to grow and scale into a meaningful way. And you mentioned the global bank. And so we had one of our clients that came to us and they said, look, we are trying to enhance our decisioning strategy. So we have all of this customer information, all of this transactional data, and we want to be able to capture early issues in customer profiles and make more accurate and personalized decisions at scale. And they use the platform to throw all 7.5 million accounts on a nightly basis through the platform to come out with a transactional score that they then use to make relevant decisions off of. And because of the ability to do that at scale, they did some in real time, but in batch as well. But in near real time, like they were able to improve accuracy and outcomes across risk bands by 8 to 18%. So being able to make use of that data in meaningful ways and to hear and cut through the noise, just amazing outcomes. And being able to do that at scale is really is critical as well.
And that's absolutely important, because something that we highly encourage, and that's how we invest with our partners, is we want to make it really easy for our customers to prototype and get started. We want to be able to have our consulting firms there to do the assessments and understand those data silos at customers, so we can show them the blueprints that they could use to quickly deploy that consolidated view of their data and have a ready catalog on AWS. And so there's several investments that we do. We call them game days to start with, or 1 to 2 day workshops. We often run assessment exercises that can be between 6 weeks to 2 months. And then we often help with migration and modernization, and we invest skin in the game through that process with our partners, such as FICO and consulting firms such as Infosys. And I think we've got some news there. I think you guys have signed a recent collaboration agreement. Do you guys want to touch on that?
Yeah, so it's coming hot off the press here this week at FICO World. So really investing deeper into our partnership together. And I know there's a lot of investments going into the marketplace and how our use of the marketplace, and then how we're going to market with you as well. So it's a really exciting time. That's all coming out of FICO World here this week. I think the press release officially goes out later today or tomorrow. So I won't touch too much on it, but a really exciting time for both of us and our partnership together. And I love what you said, Addy, as well. There's been numerous times where I've worked very closely, attached at the hip, I feel like, with AWS to go in and say, look, we are a partner business. So we want to help enable our clients to get to where they are. You know, we all have strengths. And when we come together, the strength of the village is a lot stronger than us independently. So it's been a lot of fun to watch our partnership grow and mature over the last couple of years, and go in hand into some of these accounts and see what we can transform. And the outcomes have just been absolutely incredible.
Congratulations, Jaron. That's fantastic. Very exciting development in the relationship. Jaron, I've got another question for you. I'm a client. I'm a FICO client. How do I get started with my journey with hyper-personalization? Like, what advice do you give your clients in terms of starting that journey, and what are the key strategies for setting up for success?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the way that I really view is taking a platform approach to hyper-personalization is critical. So when we're talking about personalization, if you look at the definition of personalization, it's a step in the customer journey. It's becoming more personalized in your approach in a single area. Hyper-personalization is personalization on steroids. It's taking personalization across the entirety of the customer life cycle. And that's what we focus on at FICO, is whether we're talking about attracting and engaging new clients, whether we're talking about onboarding, whether we're talking about account management, customer management, collections, fraud. How do we make a seamless journey for the client that they say, my bank knows me, like the experiences they're having at every step of the journey is similar to what they had upstream to downstream. It just kind of builds that trust and that loyalty. So look, it starts at the top. Like we always say, whenever you want to do this successfully, it's a mindset shift within the organization. But it's all about then finding where the value is up front. Where can we start that's going to bring the most value, that starts to build and show ROI that we can then compound off of? And if you look at the platform, very, very quickly, I'll kind of give you insight into what it is. So the platform is a set of capabilities that are broken down into 4 categories: data, insights, actions, and outcomes. So it's all about bringing in the right data at the right time, as I mentioned, then being able to apply analytics to that data, to build contextual profiles, to bring in AI. I always say FICO's in the business of getting value out of analytics. So we don't care where the analytics are coming from. If you have a team that's building models in Python or SAS, wherever those models are being built on, or they're being built on FICO technology, we're all about operationalizing those, allowing you to get value out of the analytics that your team has created. So you have the data, using analytics and profiling and optimization technology to understand your data in a new way. That is only valuable if you can take meaningful action off of those insights in ways that matter. And that's where our world-class decisioning comes into play. Our composability capability comes into play, allowing you to be agile in nature, enabling you to compose end-to-end strategies, all in a business user-friendly way that enable you to actually take action off of the insights. And those actions lead to better business outcomes for your business and your client's business as well. And then being able to simulate, continuously learn, and get better. So that's really what the core of the platform is designed to do. It's designed to get you from data to meaningful outcomes in the most efficient and effective manner possible. So a lot of the clients that I work with, we kind of fit into their ecosystem. They come to us and they say, look, we're struggling with data, we're struggling with analytics, we're struggling with decisioning. And we fit into the existing ecosystem that they have into place to enhance and augment all of the processes and technologies that they have. So we're never coming in saying, look, this is going to be a rip and replace, a big bang approach. You have to rip out all the investments you've made. No, let's see where you're struggling. Let's see where we can fit our technology in to enhance and augment everything you've done to drive meaningful outcomes that matter.
Awesome. Jaron, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure, this conversation. Again, I said this on the last segment, but 30 minutes goes past just like that. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, man, I feel like I've asked another 10 questions. But we thoroughly appreciate you taking time out of FICO World. I can imagine it's a very, very busy time for you. So again, genuinely thank you for your time. Addy, I just wanted to throw to you any last minute comments, questions from you before we wrap?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I just really resonated with the call out of how, FICO is able to bring the right data that helps customers make these decisions. And in our previous session with Fractal, we called out how the knowledge graph inside an organization is really needed so customers can make most of the data that they have within their own organization. And so, almost looking forward with what Gen AI is going to do for us, the interface will become less important. What's going to matter is, could you have the right architecture, the right generation, the right agent to help you to the right decision? And what would come down to it is, did you understand your data? And so we're really keen that our customers kind of get moving on this. And I was really happy to hear the stories from the FICO team and the Fractal team that kind of show that proof through their examples today. So fascinating session today.
Awesome. Thanks again so much, Jaron. So a couple of points to takeaways for our live audience. Engage with the FICO Hyper-Personalization blog. Lots of interesting content there. Thoroughly recommend engaging and checking it out. Industries Live is our bi-weekly program. We'll be talking M&E in a couple of weeks. So very much looking forward to seeing you all in the next session. But don't forget, QR code, please. If we could, we would love your feedback. It's critical to us to improve the show and make it as relevant and as meaningful for you and as engaging as we can for you. So please give us feedback as what you like, what you want to see more of, and we thoroughly thank you for your time. Again, Jaron, Addy, thanks so much. Great episode. Really enjoyed the conversation. Look forward to seeing you all next time on Industries Live. Have a great week. Talk to you soon.